Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Funny Shapes. If you don't know me, I'm your host, Lottie, and on today's episode, we have the first collaboration of the Funny Shapes podcast. Hopefully, the first one of many ones. And we talked about the Australian Grand Prix. We talked about everything that happened during the whole weekend. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And don't forget to follow and rate the podcast on Spotify and subscribe the YouTube channel of the podcast. And yeah, let's get into the episode. Today, we're here with Teagan from Avoid the Tire Wall, and we're going to do an Australian Grand Prix review. And it was an amazing race.
Yes. Yeah,
You can
it was worth getting up at 4 a.m. for, I have to say.
For sure. I was like, it's not going to be worth it, but it was 100% worth it. And it was amazing. So we're going to talk about it from the beginning of the weekend till Sunday, maybe even yesterday on Monday, because we had a few news yesterday. So yeah, we're going to start with the Alex and Logan situation because that was a lot. What was your opinion on the situation?
So I get why they did it, but why are you punishing the driver that's not done wrong? Like, it's a bit unfair. But I do see where they're coming from. Like, Alex is the more experienced driver, but he didn't even score points.
Yeah, I can understand why they did it. But the thing that I don't understand is last year Logan didn't have the best rookie year, and they still defended him. And James Ball was like, "No, we're gonna give him another chance." For on the fourth race of the season, fourth, third, I don't even know, the third race of the season, they're like, "So we're gonna take your car just because your teammate crashed and demolished his car, and we don't have enough parts to fix it." Imagine how Logan felt being like, "Oh, so
I
you gave
would
me a chance to prove myself, and now you're like, you're not driving."
I would imagine because obviously he put out that statement, didn't he? Or like the team put out a statement, and it was like, "Oh, thank you, Logan," or like Logan was like, "Thank you to the team. I really understand it. I completely get it." Like hell, he said that. He probably went, "What the flip?" I would have been out there. I would have been like at the beach. I would have been on a nice little jolly. I would not have stayed for the Grand Prix.
Exactly. Like the whole like statement like Logan is a team player. That's not being a team player. That's them like pushing him aside and saying like you don't have a car for this weekend because we prefer your teammate and your teammate might score points and you won't.
Well, I posted a reel about this, and I posted a reel of TikTok, and then I shared it to YouTube as well. And people in the YouTube comments were going wild at me. I was like, I'm just trying to make content, guys.
Which doesn't make sense because even if you're an Alex fan, and I have multiple fans that love Alex, they were like, it's not fair for Logan. And the whole like, oh, he's a team player and he's always for the team, and like Alex posting a picture with him and being like, thanks, you're a great teammate and you're always working for the team. That's not working for the team. Working for the team, it's like on qualifying, he gives like a toe to Alex so Alex can get like Q2 or Q3, or in the race, they switch positions. That's being a team player. But now, taking his car, in my opinion, it's not being a team player.
Absolutely. It's just a really like bad situation because just it's not nice. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I was really disappointed with Williams, and it didn't work out because Alex did not score points, did not get into Q3, so it was kind of pointless.
Yeah, literally. Like, okay, I saw someone said this in one of my comment sections. If it was like Abu Dhabi 21, where it was Lewis versus Max for the title, I understand it then because
Yeah.
there's a high chance that one of them will win. So like say, I don't know, say Checo crashed say Max crashed and Checo like was told basically do a Logan, Max will have your car. I understand that, that's completely fine. But Williams, realistically, they are not fighting for wins. They're literally only just fighting for points. They are like at the back of the grid. Like there's a few of them who are like Haas, who are all in the back markers. If it was like, Red Bull, yeah, that's understandable. But no.
Yeah, and even Max didn't agree with it. I don't know if you saw it. He was like, if it was me, I would probably like crash the car myself, my own car, so no one would drive it. Which says a lot because Max usually it's like let's play like the team player type of situation. But even he didn't agree, and because they are paid to drive, and basically Logan was like, so you came all the way to Australia, but you're just gonna like sit and watch the kangaroos go by, which is like, why didn't like he could have just drive, he could have scored points as well, and it was pointless because Alex ended up P11, I believe. Yeah, P11,
Yes.
because the houses like went up a position because George crashed. It's like it didn't work. And it's like imagine Logan sitting on the garage, be like, so I'm sitting here and it wasn't for anything. And I was like scared that Alex was going to crash again because he crashed last year on turn 6.
Yeah.
He crashed again on turn 6 this year. I was like, if I was a team principal, okay, I can see that he's the one that might score points. But at the same time, he also crashed twice in 2 years, like on the same corner. So I was like, was that the best option?
Literally, like I think I said this a similar thing in one of my videos. I was like, it's clearly not his strongest circuit. If it was like his strongest circuit and there was a guarantee of points, but like last year, obviously he had quite a big crash. But yeah, like I think Dennis Hauger crashed at the same part. I know Dennis Hauger's not in F1, but like it's not a good corner for Alex and it's not a good track for Alex. So make it make sense.
Yeah, it was like completely like it was weird. And someone brought this up on TikTok saying that same thing happened with Vettel and Mark Webber in 2012, I believe. I don't remember which track it was. That Seb crashed and they took a front wing from Mark Webber and put it on Seb's car, and Mark Webber ended up winning that race. And on the radio, he was like, "Not bad for a second driver," which is like fun. But I think Logan should do like something like that.
Right, yeah. I just think Logan Sargent needs to have like his reputation moment.
He
He needs
needs to take his appendix out,
yeah,
do like a Carlos vibe, because Carlos is like, okay, it's my last year. Watch me. Which is like fun to watch, but at the same time, as a Charles fan, I'm like, chill, please. Like, I need to see Charles win. But yeah. Quali was like pretty okay, except for the fact that we woke up at like 5 a.m. and Max complained about the car the whole session. He complained it on Q1, he complained on Q2, on the beginning of Q3, he was like, the car is understeering, and he was complaining so much. Somehow he managed to do a lap. There was like 115.9. And I'm like, how? How is that possible?
literally. Like, I mean, during the race as well, he was saying about how the car was basically crap. Yeah, he was saying how the car's crap, and he's like he does this quite a lot. He'll say the car is awful, and then he'll suddenly be like, bam, P1, 10 seconds ahead of everyone else.
He complains so much, but then the car works. And I'm like, does the car listen to him? Like he complains about the car and the car's like, I'm sorry, Max. I'm sorry. And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna work, I'm gonna do my job. It's like it's so weird. And I was like so hopeful, because Charles is like amazing on quality. And I was like, maybe we'll get a pull. And Carlos was doing amazing the whole way. And I was like, it's happening, it's happening. It didn't happen. And I was like, I woke up at 5 a.m. for this. And me and my friends were like, please, please, we need like this needs to stop. And we get to Sunday, and I was like, it's even earlier. Like we never, at least I never watched the race that early, because
Yeah.
usually Australia is like 6 a.m. And I'm like,
Yeah, I was a bit confused because one of my followers commented and was like, "I'm pretty sure the race is at 6 a.m. now," and I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, I think it's at 6." And then I looked and like Motorsport UK said it was, not Motorsport UK, Motorsport.com, sorry, said it was 4 a.m. Sky Sports said it was 4 a.m. I was like, "What?" Make it
I
make sense.
was so confused. Like I only found out that it was at 4 a.m. because my group chat, they were like, Australia's at 4 a.m. And I was like, what? I was
Literally.
like, 6 a.m. is like already a lot. 4 a.m. Are you kidding me? And they're like, it is. And I went on the F1 app and I was like, no, please no. And I was like, okay, we need to. I was like, do I stay awake? Do I go to sleep? Because if I go to sleep, like last year, I woke up and like after the chaos, I woke up like I was up. But the year before, I didn't even wake up. I was like, I'm not here for it. But then if I go to sleep and wake up just for the race, I'm like in my bed, I'm like, what? I'm not really watching it. I was like, I'm not going to bed. So I slept like through like 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And I was like, okay, I think I'm good. And I was fine. And the race started and I was like, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready. And I was posting stories and my friends started answering like, good morning. And I was like, okay, so we're all crazy and we're all awake for this. And I was like, okay, that's fine. The race starts and I'm like, this dude is gonna disappear and we're gonna have the same thing again. Somehow Carlos overtakes him and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I just hear the F1 commentator saying, there's smoke coming out of Max's car. And I was like, what? I was like, are you joking me? And he then DNFs. That was like the happiest moment of like the last few races.
I actually, my notes, it's quite beautiful. I have got, that's not supposed to happen, in full capital letters, Carlos Sainz takes lead. Oh, and that was delirious at, I should accidentally opened a new note. Whoops. That was delirious at 4 o'clock in the morning. The spelling errors, we're not going to discuss those because it's abysmal. But I was just like, you know, when you're like in a state, because I'd got my iPad on the side of my bed and I was like like looking at it, and then like something dramatic could happen, like Carlos taking the lead, and I'd be like, oh, and then like, yeah, it was an experience.
I was just sitting down on my bed. I'm like, what's happening? What is happening? Like my mom had left for work at like 4. I was like starting to watch the race. She was like, you're crazy. And I'm like, let me be. Okay? Just let me be. And I was like, okay, he DNF'd. I was like, I'm gonna call my mom. I'm gonna call my mom. I called her screaming. And she was like, what's happening? And I'm like, Max DNF'd. He's out. He's out. And she was like, see, because on the day before, she was like, from the moment that you're like, you don't care if he wins or not, he's gonna stop winning. And I'm like, I still care, but okay. I need Charles to win in Japan for Jules. And I'm like, if it doesn't happen, I will cry. But it's like everyone is saying that they're posting a snippet from somewhere, I don't even know, after Max had a bad race, that he was like, on Japan, we're gonna kill everyone or something like that. I'm like, fucking hell. I'm like, no, I can't do this again. So I hope that car does not fix itself. Like, I'm really hoping that somehow that car stays that bad for the rest of the season.
I'm gonna have to miss the Japanese Grand Prix because I'm in America when it's on, and it's on at 6 a.m. our time, and it's on, I think it's 1 a.m. in America time, and I was like, can I really? And like, I don't know, my content's gonna be slacking because I'm gonna be there like living it up in America.
Is it at 6? On
I
my
think so.
on my app,
Eight
it's
or
7.
eight. Oh, is it? Oh.
Yeah,
Might
it's
me
like
be
quali is at 8 and the race at 7. Like the
oh,
practices, it's like 4:30, but that's
that's so
okay.
early.
It's bad, but not as bad. But I
It's
think China is at 6 a.m. again.
6 a.m. for me.
Yeah,
Perhaps it's good
maybe this one is wrong. Maybe the app.
daylight savings as well. Like the clocks go back for us. I don't know if they go back over there as well.
Oh, I did not remember that. I didn't remember that. Yeah, it's 6 a.m. on the F1 app at 6 a.m. The other one didn't change because the time hasn't changed yet.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cry. That's fine. But yeah, the race was like pretty exciting, even though like after Max DNF'd, there was like a few fights in the middle field, and we had both points for Aston Martin, for Haas, which is like okay, good job,
Yeah.
and McLaren P3 and P4, which was very exciting, even though a few Australian fans were like just a little mad because they um, let Lando get in front of Oscar and he could have gotten a podium on his home race.
The last time, and the commentator said this, so I'm stealing it off them. The last time there was a Ferrari 1-2, McLaren 3-4 was at Spa in 2007. But I just think team orders are stupid. Like, if, to quote Franco Colapinto's engineer, if you're faster, pass them. Like, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, but I do think Lando was a bit faster than
Yeah.
Oscar. At least that's my opinion. And it was like a great race for Oscar because last year he DNF'd on his first home Grand Prix,
Yeah.
which is like not so great. And this year it was amazing. P4 for like his home race, it's amazing. And the fact that McLaren is doing something good at the beginning of the season, it's amazing because for the past like what 3 years until like middle of the season, they're complete shit and they're like P18, P17, pitting the car like 6 times. So I think they're doing a very good job.
Yes. I think they've got like a really strong team, and that's not just in the drivers, that's in like all the engineers and stuff, because you can tell like Lando trusts his engineer quite a lot and like Oscar trusts his. And I think like the fact they've got that like trust between them is really, really good, and it highlights, the good team vibes.
Yeah, they're like getting along very well. And sometimes they look like twins. Like I saw a TikTok that they do the same things like so much. And they're together, like they look at the same like time and they switch positions to like the same position at the same time. It's like, are you twins? And you didn't say anything. Like it's so weird. They have like the same like body language. And I'm like, hmm.
I love it, honestly. It makes me giggle when people like you see the parallels, and it's like, or Max and Checo both do something at the same time, and like Lando and Oscar do something at the same time. I can't remember what it is, but it is pretty swanky.
Yeah. Even though like it's the first time that Lando has a teammate that's younger than him, because he had Carlos and then Danny Rick. But I can't help to like maybe he feels a bit bad because his teammate is like in his second year. He has won a sprint race. He has got a podium, and Lando is still waiting for his race win.
Yes, well, there's an F1 photographer called, I think he's F1 Sutton, and he posted a photo earlier. Let me get it up because I was like, oh, it's basically Lando looking really depressed in the Parc Ferme area. Oh no, I've lost it.
I don't
There
know
it
if
is.
you saw a video.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
looks so sad.
he looked so sad. I don't know if you saw the video. It was like after the race, he was like walking through the paddock, and a fan screamed, "When are you gonna get a win, Lando?" And he just finger them. He was like, "I don't even care." And I got a notification from like my football app, like the Portuguese one, saying that like the caption was like, "Lando lost his head." And I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Is that serious?" And I clicked, it was just like a video of him flipping them off, and I'm like, it's not that serious.
Yeah, like I think like as a British person, because obviously Lando's also British, everyone just flips each other off. Like,
Getting back to the race, I think Carlos did such an amazing job, and the commentators were saying that he was like doing a Max kind of race because he overtook Max and he stayed on in the front and like not even close. I think he was close to Charles, but like for 5 laps, and then he pretty much took off and just did his thing. And especially, he had surgery 2 weeks ago, and that doesn't enter my mind. How did he have surgery 2 weeks ago and he was in such a good condition for the race?
literally, like if I had my appendix out 2 weeks ago, I'd be there like rotting in my bed, like, ugh. And then he's there like driving at 200 miles an hour, absolutely bossing it, winning, and I'm like, the what? That's not normal, bro.
Yeah, and they were like, "Oh, he's not 100%." If he's not 100% and he did that, when
Literally,
he's 100%, like, what is he gonna do? And one thing that I was like, Carlos, do not say that. On the post race interview, he was like, "Oh, I wish Max hadn't DNF'd because we might have had a few fights." I was like, "No," and you know damn well he was going to disappear in front of you. You might have like overtake him like a few times, but he was going to disappear, and you wouldn't catch him. And I was like, "Be grateful that the car was like, I'm gonna be good to you, and I'm gonna let you win." Um, and I was like, "No, you don't want to fight with Max on the RB20."
well, in Max's interviews, um, he was saying it was like driving with the handbrake on, which I have accidentally nearly done a number of times because I've got stressed and forgot to put the handbrake down, um, which happens quite a lot. But anyway, yeah, and Max was just having a bit of a not nice weekend because, and then he was wandering around the pit lane. I was like, mate, would you not leave? Would you not go like watch the race in your little nice motorhome? Like, why are you having a little wander?
He was so chill. Like he left the car, like he took the car to the pits. He left the car, he put like the little team shirt on, went to his media duties, and he was so chill. Like usually in like the past, he would be like mad when he DNF'd and he would scream on the radio. He didn't do that. The radio was like, "Oh, there's like a problem, retire, retire." And he retired, and he was like wandering around the paddock just vibing. And I'm like, that just proves how done it is. Like how done he is with winning every single weekend.
Well, I was just shocked by how quickly he'd got his like normal clothes on because it like cut to him in the garage like just taking his helmet off and then bam, I was like, what? Like, man, it took me like an hour.
It looks like he just ran to like the driver room and he was like, finally, it's over. I can have my normal clothes on. And he just like was okay with it. And I'm like,
Yeah,
that shows a lot of like he might be like, oh, that was an amazing job. Like when he went, he was like, oh, that was a beauty. That was whatever, whatever. But like it has to be even like tiring for him.
honestly, yeah. I just think like if you're so dominant, would you not want to move to a different series? I'm being judged by my cat. He keeps looking at me like I'm like being strange. Um, yeah, I would you not want to move to like IndyCar, to WEC, to NASCAR, for example, to like have you go at seeing if you can, you know, absolutely slay the day away in those? Because it must be really, really boring because, you know, it's just boring. There's no other way to say it.
Yeah, even for the Red Bull fans, like I can't believe that they're celebrating like every single weekend, being like, "Oh, Max won, let's celebrate!" Like we celebrated Carlos's win. I cannot believe that. Like in my head, it doesn't make sense that you're gonna celebrate the same thing like over and over and over again when you know it's coming. It's not like if he won every single race, but like he fought for it, and there was like Bahrain 2022 kind of fights for the win, that would be fun. and it was like, okay, he's winning because he's fighting for it. But no, he starts on pole and he ends P1 without even trying. Like he just, the only thing that he does is drive, and the only cars he overtakes, it's the cars that like he's overlapping.
Literally, like, honestly, because obviously everyone has like the same calendar every year. Or also, what the hell even is this calendar? Why is Azerbaijan in September? I saw it the other day and I was like,
I was so confused, and I'm like, why? Usually Azerbaijan is like the fifth race of the season.
it's it's always before Monaco, and I don't know why I remember that, but it is. But I was just like, oh, what? Because I remember when it first came out, I was like, what on earth? And now I'm like, what on earth?
Like Japan is usually towards the end of the season as well.
It's
And
always, sorry, it normally it always falls on my birthday, and now they put Qatar, and Qatar is the one closest to my birthday, and I'm like, what?
that's like the worst race of the calendar. I have trauma for that, from that race from last year. It was so bad. Drivers were like
Awful.
not doing well, and I'm like, why are you putting that race again on the calendar? It doesn't make any sense to me. But the calendar is very weird. Same thing. They go to Spain, then go to Canada and come back to Monaco, or like go to Monaco, Canada, and Spain, something like that.
Yeah,
Like
strange.
it doesn't make sense. Why wouldn't you just go like Italy, Spain, and Monaco, or like Canada, and then just
Yeah,
like we've been doing for the past years? It's like so weird.
yeah.
Um, and I don't get it because that has to mess up with the drivers.
Well, I made this video like months ago when the calendar was first released, and I was like, why do they not do all of the American, like this North South American, yeah, that's North and South American races together, then move over to Europe, because America is most often hot, like Canada is probably quite warm. Obviously don't do it like in February because it's too cold, but what, like, move over to Europe, do all the European ones, go to Asia, do all the Asian ones, go to the UAE, the Middle East, do all the Middle Eastern ones. Also, look what's just come up on my Twitter. Someone got a Max DNF tattoo. It's stunning. It's truly something.
That's
But
the
yeah,
best.
why not, like, I don't know, Australia first, because Australia's miles away. Then like work your way around the world. Don't go but. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Especially when it's like, for example, now they have like a week off. But especially when it's like a two header, like a three header, they have to move like from all sides of the world. Just it doesn't make sense because the like the time zones have to mess up with them. And the whole like jet lag situation, I don't think it helps for the drivers, but they're like, eh, we're just gonna go like whatever we want, which is like, you do you, but that's weird. But I think next year Australia will be the first race of the season.
Yeah, hopefully. I think they did say it was, but oh,
So
thank God, because Australia first is an absolute banger. Because the last two Australian Grand Prix have been amazing, and
yeah,
so we've got to like keep the momentum going. I would
yeah.
love to go to Australia, but if I took my entire family, it's £10,000 for flights alone, which is
I'm
insane.
like, at the same time that I'm like, I would like to go to Australia, I'm like, I'm scared. They have so many weird creatures that I'm like, I don't know if I can deal with that. It's like snakes, spiders. I'm
Yeah,
like, at the
kangaroos.
same time, I'm like, that's a beautiful country. That should, but like, should be an amazing trip. I'm like, would it? Because it's not like only on people's houses. Like I've seen videos like people like on hotels and like a giant spider shows up on their room. I would die. I would like leave the room. I'm like, bye. The room is yours. I'm like, oh, Australian Grand Prix seems so fun. But at the same time, I'm like, is it?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I get where you're coming from. Plus, like, you'd have to go there for ages to get like adjusted to the time zone. And like, 10 grand for flights for 4 people is ridiculous. Who has 10 grand lying about? I don't.
I don't either. It's like, where were
Lewis
we?
Hamilton also DNF'd. I
His car
think
just gave out.
I think it was the last time since that one race in Italy in 2021 that Lewis and Max DNF'd together. Don't hold me to that. I think I was like 5 o'clock in the morning. I was writing that.
I
But
think it was. I think I heard the commentator say that. I'm pretty sure. But I was hearing things that did not happen. Like on Saturday, after quali, I put a story like P4 for the home race with an Oscar picture, and my friends were like, "Isn't he P6?" And I'm like, I swear to God that I heard the commentator saying that he got P4 for his home race, and I checked, and I was like, "Oh, I'm that delusional." So they might have said that.
in my notes, I've put Max Verstappen pole P2 Norris. Where I got P2 Norris from, I would love to know. But I was just like, what?
We were clearly just all delusional, but I swear I heard them say that Oscar did an amazing job and scored P4 for his home race. And I've been meaning to like go back to the like F1 app and check and see if I'm like that crazy. Because I swear I heard it. I might be just going insane.
And Sauber kept having abysmal pit stops. Like,
They've been having them for the whole season. Like in every race, they had a tragic pit stop. And I'm like, do you not train for that?
literally.
It's like so weird. And it's like, I know your car is like not the best car on the grid, but you can at least try to, I don't know, do your job because it's horrible. It's like every single race, if it's not with Bottas, it's with Joe. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, how do you mess up the same thing every single weekend?
Literally. Like, and then one of Valtteri's wheel nuts was like rolling across the pit lane as well. Like, how does that even happen? Like, how?
I think they're like drinking something before the race because that's not normal. Like every single race, it's like, I know you're bad, but it's like, it doesn't have to be like that bad. The Alpines were not as bad this weekend. They're still bad. They're still tractors, but they were like tiny bit better. Um, but it's like they're better, but not good. But ST Bestie celebrated getting into Q2 like it was a win.
Honestly, he's so real for that. The Alpines are shocking, but Pierre Gasly just got a 5-second penalty as well for crossing the pit exit
Did
or the line at the pit exit too early. That might not have been Pierre Gasly, but I've said it was Pierre Gasly, so oh well.
I didn't even see that. I swear I didn't even see that. But Esteban was like so happy for getting into Q2. He was like, let's go. And I'm like, okay, that's good for you, I guess. But he was really, really happy. I'm like, you do you, but it's weird because you have won a race in your life and you've got a podium like last year in Monaco, and you're like celebrating a Q2 entry.
Yeah, you know it's bad when they're celebrating like Q2. Like,
It's really, really, really bad. And I saw like rumors that they might be selling Alpine. Don't know to who. I saw it.
Yeah, apparently, what's he called? Ryan Reynolds is not happy with Alpine because obviously he's an investor in them, and yeah, it's not stunning.
Like I can understand because he's investing. He brought like a lot of investors. He brought like Travis Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes, and
Yeah.
like a few others. And it's like I bet Ryan was like, "Oh, let's invest. It's like F1. It's fun." And now they're like, "Oh, so we're investing our money," and they are doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah,
And
I'd be a bit peed off because obviously they've got a lot of money anyway. But you'd expect your team to do good if you invested millions and millions of pounds. But they're not.
it's like, it's a bit bad because it's like, okay, they have a lot of money, but they're wasting their money. They could have invested in something else. So it's not great, and I understand that they might be mad. But yeah, let's talk about Fernando's penalty. I was like, did he deserve that much of a penalty?
I think, and this might sound really bad, but I don't think George performs well when he's like, there's a lot at stake. Like we saw at Singapore when
Mhm.
it was, I'm sorry, it was quite funny when it was like they were really close and he was just like, bam.
Yeah,
And then,
went
like,
straight. He's like, bye.
yeah, I was just like, oh, it should not happen. But I just like, okay, I understand that maybe what he did was a bit unfair, but someone said he was trying to get the perfect exit on the apex, and George should have anticipated that. Like, I don't know, just George needs to pay more attention, clearly.
Yeah. Like from what I was seeing, like in my opinion, he wasn't doing anything. Like he slowed down to like not crash when he left the apex, which is like it's normal. And the steer was saying that he was like the penalty was for him potentially dangerous driving. I'm like, you're giving him a 20-second penalty for potentially.
Literally, like, if it's potential, like, surely you can't punish that because you have the decision of whether it's dangerous or not.
Exactly. Like potential, it's not like a good enough reason for a 20-second penalty. If it was like a 5 second, I'd be like, it's 5 seconds. But now a 20-second penalty for like, oh, he might have been driving dangerously. It's like that doesn't make sense. And we all know that George does not perform well when he's like trying to like do something on the last laps. He crashed in Singapore because he was like trying to do too much instead of just like being happy with a P3, which is like very good. Um, Same thing happened this weekend, just because he wanted to get P5 instead of P6.
In the grand scheme, it's literally like a couple points more. Like, why? I mean, personally, I'm not really a big fan of George. I cut this bit out. I find him really, really friggin' annoying.
I'm gonna believe it because I find him so annoying, and I've said that before on episodes because like he's annoying, and I think he's stayed even more annoying since last year. Because I think in 2022 he was not as annoying, but since last year he's been acting so like you want to punch him, and he acts like his teammate is not Lewis Hamilton, and he says things like when Lewis is in front of him like, oh, I'm faster, or I'm like, no, you're not. Like your teammate is Lewis Hamilton. Like why are you acting like you're the Lewis Hamilton in the team?
Yeah, like I feel like there was a teacher at my old school and she was like this and she said that he's got too big for his boots going from Williams to Mercedes because everyone knew he was going to Mercedes anyway. But he's like had a proper ego boost and he thinks he's like, a 20-time world champion and he's not. He's won one race. Like, no.
And I think his ego grew so much after he won that race.
Yeah.
I think up until then he was like pretty okay, kind of a weird dude sometimes, but overall he was like pretty okay. But since he won that race, it was like downhill.
Yeah, like I feel like everyone expects me to like love him because I'm British and I'm like, realistically, I respect Lewis Hamilton. He's not my fave, and I like Lando Norris. I think he's funny, but I don't support them. Like I wouldn't. Well, okay, no, I would buy their merch because I'm trying to build up my collection, but like I wouldn't I wouldn't be like, oh my god, I love Lando Norris so much because it's just not true. I'm not gonna like lie because I'm British. Like,
Yeah, I understand that. Like, it's like, oh, you have a driver from your country, so you have to
yeah,
support them. And I think that happens a lot with Dutch people that are not Max's fans. And are like, oh, you need to support Max because he's Dutch and he's doing such amazing things. Like, no, I don't need to do that because why would I have to support the driver from my country? Like, we don't have any from Portugal, which is like, might be good. I think we have like one that is in Formula E. I don't know his name to be honest. I knew it. It's like Felix something
Oh, I
something.
take Felix da Costa.
Yes. And I think he was like very close to getting to F1 a couple of years ago, but then something happened and he didn't get into F1. And I'm like, that's good because I don't know if I would support him and people will be like, you need to support him. I'm like, no, I don't.
Literally, like I said, I like when I'm doing a race review, like for example, Lewis Hamilton, I'll say, oh, Lewis Hamilton had a good race if he had a good race. Otherwise, you know, I don't really mention him unless he's had a bad race. Or like, I don't know, most of the grid. I do not mention most of the grid. But then someone kept calling me racist for not talking about Lewis. And I'm like, what? Like, what?
Yeah, like I don't need to talk about the drivers that I don't like. Like I love Lewis. Lewis is like one of my favorites. Lando as well. I would say my top three is Charles, Lando, and Lewis. But it's like not everyone needs to love them like I do, and everyone has their own drivers that they support, and that's completely fine. But yeah, same thing happens with football. For example, we have like two teams now. They're like in the second division. They don't even play with like the big teams anymore. But when they did, like I support like a team from here, but it's like I support them when they play here. Like if they play with my team from like my main team, my uncle and my aunt was like, "Oh, you need to support the one from here because you're from here." And I'm like, "No, like I don't. Like why would I do that? Like my main team is like this one." And like the other is like, I like it. Just like
Yeah, like there's there's a team in my town. They're like actually kind of irrelevant in the nicest way possible. Like, but I don't support them because I mean I'm not the biggest football kind of person anyway. But like I support a different team. Why would I like I don't feel obligated to support my team and like my town because I don't I've been to watch them play before, but I could not tell you what league they're in. I haven't got the foggiest.
it's like, oh, you're from here, you have to support the teams from here. No, I don't. No, I don't. I think it was like maybe 4 years ago. My team like won 10-0, which is like insane. But they won 10-0 to like one of the teams from here, and people were like, "You don't need to celebrate every single goal." I was celebrating every single one of them, and the same thing happens with drivers. Like if Max DNFs, I will celebrate. It's like, oh, it's not that nice to like celebrate someone's disaster. I will celebrate. If Checo does not do good, I will celebrate because I don't like him.
Yeah, literally. Like I if like we have a competitive race and one of the drivers DNFs, I'll be like, well, hey. But like I just don't get people who are like on their high horses, like you can't celebrate when someone DNFs. You need to do this. Like, no, you don't. There's no expectations of being an F1 fan. Like, what?
It's like I can celebrate and I will because I'm done with Max winning over and over again. And it's like it was not only people at home celebrating. I don't know if you saw a video of the grandstands. The commenters like Max is DNFing. People started to like scream and celebrating, and I'm like, that shows how much people are just like done with it. And also, I don't know if you saw like Max in the beginning of the week, he was like streaming with like his friends. And one of them was like, "Aren't you going to Australia?" And he was like, "Yeah, some point this week." And
Literally.
I'm like, oh, that's how we're doing it. It's like I have nothing against Max, but like Max as a person and like girl dad Max. Now, Max when he's in the car, hate him, like hate him with my whole soul. But like the funny Max, the Max that is like walking around the paddock with Penelope, I'm like, that's so cute. Now he enters the car, I'm like, I hate that. Like I hate that dude. Like I can't with him. I just can't.
Literally, like, I just think, like, Max, race car driver Max and Penelope's stepdad Max are just two insanely different people.
It's like he completely changes. And I saw like the cutest video ever of like, I think it was on Sunday or maybe Saturday, I don't even know. And it was like her running to him and he hugged her. I'm like, that's the cutest thing in the planet. Now you get into the car and I'm like, I don't like you. I hate you. And I was like talking to my mom a few days ago. I'm like, imagine how Penelope's dad feels because Max literally stole his life.
Yeah. Poor Danny Kvyat. Like, I actually quite like Daniel Kvyat, which is controversial because I said that in one of my videos and people were like, why do you like him? And I was like, because he just seems like a nice fella, to be fair. But like, I just think Daniel Kvyat had it all and then he didn't.
Yeah, like he had a Red Bull seat, he had Kelly, he had a cute little daughter, and out of nowhere, he lost the Red Bull seat to Max, lost Kelly, didn't lose his daughter, but like kind of.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude has to cry in the shower at least once a week because it's like
He
you
had the
can't
perfect
go
life.
that okay with a situation like that. And I'm like, Max won in life.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, what else happened in the race? I don't think.
Have you seen the rumours that Daniel Ricciardo might be getting the sack? Shall we talk about it?
Yeah, he got an ultimatum yesterday, apparently. And I'm like, why does this happen to him this much? It happened in McLaren, and now it's happening in RB. And I'm like, is it that fair?
I feel like he kind of deserves it. I cannot lie to you. Because after his comments about the Horner situation and his general other comments about women and things, I feel like, you know, he's not performing. He's not as good as he used to be. People might like to think he is, but like realistically, he isn't. And I don't know. That's my
Like,
take on
last year I would defend him like with my whole soul. Right now, not so much. And in the beginning of the season, I was like, he needs to get the Red Bull seat. He needs to go to Checo's place. Now seeing, okay, the RB is not an RB20, like it's not, and people can't say that it is. But if Yuki can manage a P7, then he could manage as well a P7, if not better, because he's way more experienced than Yuki. And now I'm like, maybe Carlos to Red Bull would be
Yeah.
very exciting. But at the same time, I'm like, would it? Because I don't know if Carlos is like in the mood to play second driver again.
Someone said to me Fernando Alonso to Red Bull, but I think like that would just implode because Fernando would want to be first driver, but obviously Max is. So I think like if I feel like there's a couple of certain driver pairings that would just not work because the teams would just like have to deal with drama all the time.
Yeah, I don't see Fernando and Max having a good relationship as teammates because we know Fernando wants to win, but Max is Red Bull's golden boy, and no one will ever be first driver while Max is in the team. But at the same time, imagine Carlos driving a Red Bull.
That would be pretty cool.
It would be amazing. I think it was Tiana. She posted on her stories about that, and she was like thoughts on it. And I'm like, it would be good. It would be like so fun to see Carlos fighting in the front, and we would have Max and Carlos as teammates, and Charlotte and Lewis, which is like if a Ferrari has a good car next year, it would be like insane.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, does Carlos want to play second driver once again? Because he has been playing second driver since 2021. And even though now I think Ferrari has given him maybe a few more chances than they did in the beginning, does he want to play second to Max?
I do not think he will, because yeah, it's just not good for, like, I feel like everyone has a second driver. At least Red Bull are open about it.
Yeah, Red Bull, it's like, while Ferrari is like, oh no, we love both our drivers, they mean the same thing to us. Red Bull is like, we have the first, which is Max, and then Checo. But I do think Checo is going.
Fair
Um,
enough.
I don't see him staying. Don't know where he's going, but I don't think he has a seat in F1. But yeah, more things. I don't think anything more happened. Oh, Susie Wolf filing a criminal, what's the name of it? Against
Claim.
claim. Criminal claim against the FIA.
As she should. Absolute icon. They cannot go around slandering my queen, Susie Wolf, who I will pray to. I'm not religious, but I will pray to Susie Wolf, because it's just not nice. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think she's like absolutely right. Having filed that, and it's like they just came out saying that, oh, she was under investigation without even like having proof about it, and they created like such a big thing for something that didn't need to be that big. And I think she's done like the right thing by filing a criminal claim against them, because we know the FIA, it's not like the greatest organization ever, and sometimes they act like they're like, oh, I'm the FIA, so I can do everything I want. But I think they need to like understand that they can't really do that.
Yeah, I think the FIA kind of give corrupt. Like, they can easily be bought off. Like, and you know, if you're the governing body of a multi-billion-dollar sport, and like, well, many multi-billion-dollar sports, like, you can't do that.
Yeah, I think they need to like understand. It's like, oh, you get a complaint about something that's saying that, for example, Susie did something or whatever, and Toto did this or that. But you need to like search before you come out saying, oh, they're under investigation, because it's like you cause like problems for them
Yeah.
without having to. And it's like with the whole Christian thing, they still haven't decided anything. And it's like, oh, like the internal investigation was stopped, but the FIA hasn't said anything so far. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I just think the FIA, like, the thing with the FIA president, Mohammed bin Salim, I've not said that right in the slightest, but they investigated themselves. Like, surely you could have got someone else, an external investigator, to investigate them, because,
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, the investigation was cleared.
yeah, well, obviously they're going to say that. Like, what?
It's like, okay, so you're investigating your own president, and you're telling me that you're going to find something. Even
Stupid.
if they did, they were like, oh, we didn't find anything. Like, no.
Find it.
Like, he could have been like stealing money from them. They would be like, our team boss is stealing money from us. Like, no, like they would never say that. And even if they were like, oh, we're gonna do it, like he wouldn't let them do that. And but I
yeah,
think like just like, oh, let's start a rumor about it. Like same thing with like, oh, Christian is under investigation, Helmut Marko was under investigation, um the FIA president was under investigation. It's like, okay, like We all know that they're not angels, but
It's just dumb.
they start investigations for like everything.
For breathing.
It's like you don't need to start an investigation for every single thing. You could just like search and like, oh, you did that. Okay, so someone did this, this, and that, and like it's just like pretty bad. But yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah.
That happened this weekend, I think. I read like a lot. Which is like, oh, I have a good race. We had a good race, so I'm gonna write a lot. Like the comparison to it's like Saudi Arabia. I wrote like this little bit and like this like tiny thing. Australia, I wrote all of this and almost like a full page.
Oh.
It's
That's
like,
quite
oh, so I was very happy. I put like hearts, like Carlos, I put like exclamation points, and like Charlotte and Lando, I put hearts because I was like very happy. And I'm like, they did something. But yeah, um, I'm really hoping for a very good race in Japan, which that means Charles winning, so he can honor Jules. Is it gonna happen? I don't know.
probably not, but we can hope.
I'm gonna try to like pray or something. I don't even know. Like when Max DNF'd, my friend started texting me. She was like, "Did we curse him?" Because like the day before, we were like, "I'm so done with this. Like, I need him. I need his car to just break." And his car breaks, and she was like, "Did we curse him?" And I'm like, I don't know, but maybe
That's
if
so real.
if it works. But yeah, I think that's everything that happened on the Australian weekend, which is like such an amazing weekend. And it was like a redemption from the chaos that it was last year. Last year we had like crashes all over, and this year was like, okay, here's a present from Australia.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I'm hoping for more races like this. And that's the final for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. I had so much fun filming with Teagan. And yeah, it's a big episode. It's like almost an hour, but I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you for the next episode. Bye.